esteemed members on the dais, esteemed guests, ladies and gentlemen. I want to make two requests. Number one, if you permit me to speak in English. And number two, I would like to highlight all the human rights that exist in this world, because we've touched upon 2-3 of them, and there are a large number which require to be propagated to everyone. I will take exactly 10 minutes and I'll try and do my best. First of all, I must tell you that there's a new National Human Rights Commission in this country, and 22 states have a state human rights commission also. So those of you living in states, don't think that you don't have the requisite authority of the government to take recourse to. Number two, I would like to mention that while there are 30 human rights only, the sub-shoots of these rights extend to about 339. And India, at the United Nations Human Rights Council, in March 2024, has accepted 221 of these 339 recommendations of the United Nations Council. So therefore, the dimension of human rights extends to 339 recommendations, 221 accepted by India. I would also like to mention that all human rights are interconnected today with national challenges and global challenges. And therefore, you can't say that education, health, and freedom of speech alone is a human right. I will try to dwell on many of these, and you'll realize the volume and the magnitude of the problem that the World Human Rights Organization has taken upon itself. First, a few basics about what is happening in the country. While we have a robust democracy, violence against women is the maximum in this country. 5 lakh crimes are committed annually. 100 rapes are committed every day in this country. The conviction rate of these rapes is just 28%. Crimes against Adivasi women, acid attacks on women, Devdasi in temples despite the ban continues, and mutilating ladies' genitals is another thing which goes on in the Whro community in 4 states of this country. The second issue is justice. A lot of you mentioned justice. I'll throw some figures at you. There are 5 crore pending cases in this country. 6 years it takes for a district court to clear a case. 4 years on an average, the High Court, and 3 years, the Honorable Supreme Court. There are under trials in this country in prisons for years together, when an under trial cannot be kept for more than 90 days. The prison conditions, if you want to just want to know, there are 1,300 prisons in this country and 5 lakh prisoners. So you can well imagine the number of prisoners per prison. Astonishing. There are daily deaths in prisons. That's another issue. Coming to the downtrodden, the SC, ST, the OBCs, we have 50,000 cases of oppression against the SCs and 8,000 against the STs every year. This is the National Crime Records Bureau data. Crimes against minorities, everyone is aware of. Scavenging, despite the fact that it has been banned, continues, and there are deaths due to cleaning of sewers and septic tanks in many parts of this country. Then let's look at some modern human rights violations. Internet, stopping of internet. India has the distinction of stopping internet 58% compared to the whole globe. That means the entire globe stops at 42%. India stops internet 58%. We have control on online content, and our IT Act allows blocking of content. In 2021, it was done in 100 cases. I move on to press freedom, which is again very important. Many members of the press are here. Our World Press Freedom Index is 161 out of 180 countries. Media freedom is curbed on a daily basis. Journalists have been arrested in large number of cases. There are cases, offices raided, BBC offices were raided in February 2024. The FCRA licenses have been cancelled of many journalists. I come on to the next very important factor, and that is human trafficking. Women and children are mostly affected by human trafficking. The conviction rate is as low as 20%. Juvenile care is missing, and as I mentioned, the Dawoodi Bohras in Maharashtra, Gujarat, Rajasthan, and Delhi are responsible for female genital mutilation, and the number 1 million of them. Child abuse, the POSCO, the Protection of Child from Sexual Offences Act, more than 50,000 cases every year. Pornography comes part of that. I move on to healthcare. While the Ayushman Bharat is covering 500 million people, Delhi and Bengal have decided not to participate in this. The two states are out of it. Health access is still not available in many of our district hospitals to the extent required. We have only 450 medical colleges in this country while we have 700 districts. So that means 250 districts don't have a medical college. And we saw the consequences of that when we had COVID and there were no beds for a large number of people who died. Moving on to education, everybody knows about the educational system, so I won't dwell deeply on this. But despite Beti Padhao, Beti Bachao slogan, the dropout rates for girls is the highest in this country, despite the midday meal scheme which is provided to every child in the school. We move on to digital public infrastructure. Excellent infrastructure we have created, but we still have data privacy issues. The Data Protection Act has not yet been passed, and the new data bill is yet to be introduced. Moving on to environment. Clean air and clean water is a right of every human being, but we've not been able to provide this. Even in the city of Delhi, which showed an AQI of 1500 for the first time in the last 66 years that I've been in Delhi. Sanitation is a big problem. There's a displacement of nearly 20,000 people whenever a new project, a big new project is created and land is acquired. The people whom land is acquired, the market price is not given. They are evicted, bulldozing of property continues. Moving on to police atrocities, arbitrary arrests, politically motivated arrests, unlawful detention, 2,000 deaths in police custody annually. Unlawful Activities Prevention Act, where 180 days you can arrest somebody without making any charges, continues in several parts of this country. Looking at elections, while we have a robust system of the Election Commission and everybody commends our system, there are parts in Telangana and Andhra Pradesh where the strong political goondas don't allow certain sections of the society to come and vote. I've been an observer there, and hence I speak from experience. Corruption, I'm not getting into, it's an entirely different concept, but apathy in government departments where you don't get land, property, birth and death certificates, documents of that kind, tax refunds, you charge interest on liabilities which don't exist, and getting work done, the ease of doing business is a big problem, especially in municipalities if you want water and power connections and have different types of facilities. Access to rural finance, this is another interesting concept. It has been estimated that 54% of rural people don't have access to rural credit. And that is why you have money lenders roaming about with 30, 40, 50, 60, even 100% rate of interest. Geriatric care, care for senior citizens. For the first time, 3 hospitals for geriatric care have been created in this country. There are pension delays for senior citizens. Those of you who are senior citizens and government servants would realize these are problems which have to be handled. Ethnic violence. Manipur has seen 200 people killed and nearly 50,000 displaced. Communal violence in UP, Himachal, Bihar, Haryana, Jharkhand, Karnataka, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, and Bengal is very common. Coming to youth activism, somebody mentioned about this, and it's very important for youth to be associated with climate change, with gender equality issues, and fighting corruption. Human rights violations of NGOs is also, again, an issue which has not been touched about. I would like to mention that many of them are intimidated, they are harassed, and they are not allowed to get the requisite licenses. You mentioned about disabilities, and you're going to distribute some wheelchairs today. The rights of persons with disabilities was passed in 2016. The act was passed in 2016. And you still have a large number of disabled people who don't have access to buildings because the ramps are not there, and therefore they're not able to get justice. Last 2 points, corporate accountability. Corporations have to ensure that they do not exploit labor, they do not damage our environment, and they do not indulge in digital frauds, which is another problem which is cropped up. And I believe 56% is the data collected of corporate frauds happening in this country annually. My last point is about global human rights leadership. This is a prime example of that leadership, and I commend all of you for taking part in this. India is a leader of Global South. It included Africa in the G20 summit in Delhi, and I hope this organization provides that kind of leadership for human rights in India. Thank you very much.